Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio, welcoming you to another edition. And on the line with us today, we have Ken Blanton. We're going to be discussing his amazing book, Strange Adventures. Now, it's available for purchase through Amazon as well as BarnesandNoble.com. But people, if you want to gather everything that Ken has in store, well, do yourself a favor and head directly to his personal websites. Now, there's two of them I'm going to mention for you. The first is KenBlantonPublishing.com, followed by BlantonBooksPublishing.com. There, you'll find more information on Ken himself, more information on this fantastic narrative, as well as the 9 others that he has published. That's right, people. Ken has written 10 books to date. Hopefully, many, many more on the horizon. So you're going to want to head on over once again to KenBlantonPublishing.com and BlantonBooksPublishing.com to gather everything that he has in store. And before we go any further, I do want to take this opportunity and point out that Ken was brought to our network, People of Distinction, today by one of the best advertising firms in the business. And of course, I'm talking about Stellar Literary Press and Media. So listen, if you are a writer out there and you have a work of art that you've created, but you need help moving it, well, give yourself the best gift you could possibly give and contact Stellar Literary. I'm telling you, people, they're one of the best in the business to do it. And frankly, this is what they specialize in, okay? Their fantastic team is waiting to assist you. So head on over to StellarLiterary.com today and gather all of the ways that they're going to help maximize your creative endeavors. And listen, it is a true pleasure, okay? An absolute delight to have Ken here on the line. But people, you be the judge, okay? Because whether it's fictional, whether it's nonfiction, these are fantastic journeys that you're going to want to embark upon. And this is something that you're going to need to get your hands on, okay? And at the end of the day, well, don't take my word for it. Take Ken's. He's written the book. He's done the research. He's going to be able to articulate everything about it much better than I ever could. So let's bring him here with us. Ken, first and foremost, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you very much for being a guest. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing fine, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Ken, listen, it was a no-brainer. When this opportunity came up to have you as a guest on our network, we jumped at it because, listen, you know, I know I'm not saying anything that's going to surprise anyone with this next one, but there's a lot of adversity happening in life right now. There's a lot of division happening in life right now, and things that are just really, you know, not the best, right? I mean, there's a lot of divide between us here socially, you know, here within the country, but also politically. And I think a book of this magnitude to just get lost in, right? To just have something to help pass the time and take us away from all of that noise that's happening is something special. So thank you for creating it, and thank you for being on the network to discuss it. Now, before we go into your book, Ken, tell us a little bit more about your background, please.
Well, I was born in Columbus, Ohio, and then we moved back to the family farm in southern Ohio. After I became about 10 or 12 years old, we moved back to Columbus into the suburbs out in the country, basically, where I attended school. And after I got through with all my schooling and Ohio State and all that fun stuff, I moved to Miami, Florida, because I was tired of sawing out my key lock to get in my car, or to scrape ice off my windshield so I could get to school or later to work. So as I went to college, I worked a full-time job. I'm also an engineer, and I've worked all over the nation on heavy construction projects, primarily nuclear power plants and bridges. As an engineer, quality assurance engineer, I had to redo a whole lot of specifications and engineering procedures. And after finding out that my punctuation and my word usage was so great, I decided I'd write books. And here I am.
There you have it. Ken, thank you very much for articulating that and a great segue that you've established, because I wanted to go into that inspiration next because I was trying to piece the dots together. Your background is in engineering, but, writing, of course. I was curious about where that all fit in. So you talked about really how it sounds like you just kind of fell into writing. But talk to us a little bit more about inspiration. Was writing always a hobby of yours growing up? Were there other artists that inspired you? Talk to us a little bit more about that.
Well, in high school, in theme writing and short stories, I got excellent grades. But I had little red circles around punctuation that was improper, like dangling participles and things of that nature that, I needed to correct. So I've always been writing. It's just that I would finish it, read it again, and throw it in the trash up until about 25 years ago. I started writing children's books, and then I wrote a couple novels that are adventure novels. And then I decided I would share a bunch of strange adventures that I recalled of friends and myself, primarily myself in the first book. And I went from there. I'm writing another novel at this time. I'm finishing the book outline so that I can get started on it.
There you have it. Well, Ken, without further ado, the anchor for today's interview is all about your book, Strange Adventures. I know you already started to go into the inspiration and some of the backing of it, but tell us a little bit more about the journey itself that your readers are going to take once they pick it up.
Everyone that I've spoken to had a conversation about my book with, and they had read it. They said, I couldn't put it down. After the first story, it seemed kind of like it sucked you in to the book, and you just had to wonder what the next one was about. And each one that I discussed this with, they said they didn't put it down until they finished it or only had another chapter to go.
Now, listen, without giving too much away here, Ken, I know that this is 8 chapters, 8 individual stories and adventures that your readers are going to embark upon. Can you go into an elaboration on maybe one of them?
Well, let's see. One of them that I would suggest people to read is the adventure that I had that was, I'm trying to figure out what chapter it was, I forget, but it's about triangle fishing is the name of the title of the chapter. Mm-hmm. And it's where a friend of mine and myself took my boat out after I got a new motor and new marine batteries in it. It was like a brand new boat. And we went out to do a dry run, so to say. And then the thing stopped. And we could see the land, but it was a small strip on the horizon. And then before you knew it, we had started out in the afternoon, so it was dark. The land was not visible, of course, and we were lost for 3 days. The batteries in the flashlights died. We could not, the batteries in the boat did as well. We could not have any running lights or security of any sort. Almost got hit by a big boat coming from the Bahamas. And once we got towed to Flowery Rock Lighthouse, after about 2 or 3 hours of charging, everything was like brand new batteries again. It's the Bermuda Triangle area, and a lot of strange things happen there, apparently.
Now, I've never visited myself, but I've heard so many things. Ken, thank you very much for articulating that. People, again, the book is called Strange Adventures. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, KenBlantonPublishing.com, and BlantonBooksPublishing.com are the places you have to go. And of course, Ken Blanton is the author you need to thank for bringing it to your table. Ken, curiosity from myself here with this next one, but throughout this entire writing process, what would you say was a highlight for you? Or if not a highlight, maybe something that surprised you along their path that you weren't anticipating before you began on it?
First, I would say it had to do a lot with the clarity of memory that I had with all the different issues that had occurred that I put in each one of the chapters. It really surprised me after I put it to print and read it, and I said, well, other than the issues with my typing, I think this would be a good read. But it's kind of funny. You think, well, is there anything I'm leaving out? And after I read it, I did add a few things because I had left some issues out that were pertinent to the storyline.
And I'm loving this. You know, as we close out of this particular narrative, because I do want to, listen, you've written 9 other books, okay? I do want to get into an opportunity of going into an elaboration of at least one other. So as we close out of this one here, Strange Adventures, 2-part question here. First and foremost, Ken, who would you say is your intended reader with the book? And secondly, is there any main messages or themes that you hope that they receive after completing it?
Well, the genre that it is published under is adolescent to adult. I guess some children would probably have nightmares reading it, not that adolescents might not. The message that I'm providing to all that read the book is, if anything strange has happened to you, or someone you know has shared a strange story of sighting of UFOs or seeing a Bigfoot or something strange that they can't understand, like maybe even thinking a ghost was in a house they went to take a look at to see if they wanted to evaluate it for purchase. They realize after reading the book that they're not the only ones that have been in that situation, that there are other people that have had similar situations occur. And most people, when they have those situations occur, kind of blow it off or rationalize it away or think that it was like something to do with a imagination or something of that nature.
As I mentioned before, Strange Adventures is one in a canon of books that you've written. Now, dealer's choice here with this next one, because nobody knows your books as well as you do. But please choose another one of your titles and go into a brief synopsis of what it entails, please.
Well, let's see. I'll go into one of my children's books, The Adventures of Glib Redundant, People, Critters, and New Friends. This little boy has a new bicycle, and he gets to ride it to school. And he doesn't watch where he's going, and the next thing you know, he runs over a skunk. He gets sprayed, and then he realizes that it's probably drying out as he's riding his bike through the wind. And so he just continues on to school to crap up the school, and it gets shut down for the day to get cleaned up so that it doesn't have a stench. And also he gets his 2 friends, the new friends that it states in the subtitle, that are playing hooky. He keeps them from playing hooky, at least one of them. The other one decides to still play hooky, and they both get in trouble. He's a good guy. He tries to do right. Sometimes he runs into issues and makes the wrong decision, like crapping up the school for the day. But overall, he does well.
People, I'm telling you, these are adventure novels that your children are gonna love, okay? And Leah, can I just be the first to say it here? I know that they're categorized for children and young adults, but I know people, I think I would enjoy these books as an adult, because these adventures are absolutely spectacular. It starts with Strange Adventures. Head on over to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, KenBlantonPublishing.com, BlantonBooksPublishing.com. Just get lost in them. And make sure you just work your way through the rest of the narratives that he has created, because this is truly a gift for everyone that picks them up, okay? Last question as we close this out here, Ken. And listen, I'd be doing my listening audience a severe disservice if I didn't ask it, okay? I love having this platform to be able to utilize as a way of paying it forward for other artists out there listening in whenever the opportunities present themselves. Now, Ken, you are someone that has written and published 10 books to date. Hopefully, as I mentioned, many more on the horizon, but I know you've written many others. Those are just the ones that have been published. So I'd love to take this opportunity, because you have a lot of wisdom that I'm sure you can relay for any new writers out there listening in currently. Someone just starting out on their writing journey, what are some words of wisdom that you can offer them about what to expect?
You can expect a really smooth writing experience, putting your book on paper, and then, of course, possibly getting it published, if you do a good storyline to begin with, so that you have a timeline that flows and the story that flows. Even more so than that, I would suggest strongly that you endeavor into finding out about the book industry and how things work. It is not written anywhere that I have found, except in books that tell you a little bit about this and that, but not everything you need to know.
Great advice. Listen, people, do your research, right? That's basically what he's saying, is understand the market that you're about to get into. Understand the business that you're about to get into. And then from a writing standpoint, as he said, that foundation is crucial. Having that roadmap set up. I believe he used the word timeline, but I'm going to use the word roadmap, because really it's going to set you off for success by having that structure. So much words of wisdom there. I know that he has much more that he can offer. For today's interview, though, we're going to close it out here, because you know what you have to do. I said it before. You know where you got to go. I'm going to plug it one last time at Amazon and Barnes & Noble, KenBlantonPublishing.com, and BlantonBooksPublishing.com. Head on over there and get lost in all of the books that he's created, and check back in frequently, because if I know Ken, he's not over yet, man. He's got more in the barrel that he's just going to continue to put out. I love it. Ken, this has been a true pleasure, man, an absolute delight. Thank you once again for being a guest.